The year was 1870. A pioneer by the name of Charlie Cusker. Wait, is that right? Charlie Clusker?
Don't offend him. Don't get the wrong Clusker.
A pioneer by the name of Charlie Clusker trudges across the Mojave Desert. The wind and sand biting at his face. The sun beating down on him. Water's running low. Death is looming on the horizon. Vultures circling overhead. But then, in the distance, is it a mirage? Is the desert heat finally getting to him? No, it's true. He's found what he's looking for. He approaches the galleon. Yes, a Spanish galleon from the 1600s, surrounded by nothing but hundreds of miles of sand and desolation. It is, in fact, the treasure he was seeking.
Was that the end of it?
Hold on. I was just making it up off the top of my head.
And then we come in, and then he's like, I'm Jack Sparrow, and this is the 6th movie. And he
God.
And he turns to the screen and just kind of does like a finger point. He's like, I'm drunk. Did you get it?
I'm still charming. What?
I'm still charming. What? I'm Johnny Depp. I thought there was going to be more of a story to it. I don't know why. So I was like, oh yeah, I guess that is enough. That is a ship just in the middle of nowhere.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that weird? Hey guys, welcome back to the 12th episode of Paranoia Shoppe.
The 12th actual episode, right?
Yes, the 12th proper episode, episode proper.
We've done some side stuff. We've gone over to other podcasts. We've done mini episodes. We've done things like we experiment with different genres, the way like Dylan experiments with electric.
Yeah, and everyone booed him and hated him for it. And I assume you do too. You probably hate us.
Yeah, that dirty old man. I saw him play in college. He was terrible. He just grunted and everyone left the theater real sad.
Yeah. But welcome to Paranoia Shoppe, your one-stop shop for everything conspiratorial, supernatural, and generally weird. I'm Aaron Waltke.
I never knew that's how you said it. And I'm Chad Quant. Welcome back. Guys, it's been a while. Let's catch up on what's been going on.
Before we get started, let's do a little housekeeping.
No, we're not doing racist Mexican voice.
Housekeeping?
You keep it in as is. All right, so since we recorded the last episode, there's been some things going on. That sounds bad. That sounds like we broke up or something. Yeah,
it sounds like the Beatles on the rooftop.
No, it's really
we hate each other.
It's really been decided to be a real adult and move in with a significant other. That was me.
And then we all copied.
And then everyone in our circle copied me. Aaron's like, well, I guess I'll move in with my girlfriend because she's pretty swell.
Yeah.
And then Kyle, who you might know from LOLJK and being on this podcast and just being a guy who yells, he decided to move in with his girlfriend. There's just been a lot of moving, a lot of apartments.
Life came and just wrecked our shit.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to take a little bitty hiatus in addition to other things, new jobs.
New jobs.
Chad's now working for a new company.
Yeah, I'm working for Frederator now. I might show up at the office and might just not have a desk for me.
You're that guy. Oh, the guy who hired you was fired.
Oh yeah, he was crazy. He didn't actually have any more time here.
He just keeps coming into the office and using the phones. Also on the docket, something that happened since last time, I myself was victim of a conspiracy theory.
Wait, do I not know
I told you about this. So some of you, if you're Redditors, probably saw this.
Right. Okay, I forgot that happened.
I stumbled into viral marketing, and successfully so, when my roommate... John, who is an actor.
The show.
He's been on the show, episode 3, Russia is Weird.
Mm-hmm.
You may remember him. He's an actor, and he recently had the enormous
blessing of being the face of Shark Week.
That's right. He was in the commercial for Shark Week. You may have seen it if you're a fan of Discovery Channel, where John is riding a shark while hundreds of sharks leap out to some dubstep.
It's the send off of the Kanye West like power intro. It's very much like that whole thing. John was on the face of it, not to cut off your story, and Aaron, who is, I mean this with love, the worst at social media and spreading anything on like Reddit or something, actually like nailed one. He home runned it.
Yeah, I literally put it up. I said, "Hey, my roommate said that he might be in a commercial for Discovery. Hey, check this out."
And it was just that. Yeah.
It went viral. It made it to the front page of Reddit. Literally got almost 1 million views.
Yeah, you probably like helped save that campaign. There's probably one guy was like, "I don't know if it's gonna work.
I don't know. Oh my God, it's working."
But one person got it going on Reddit. So if I can, from my interpret from my side, because you obviously saw all of it, nice, big, successful Reddit. Like, it's the right thing that Reddit loves, because you're not sharing your own thing. It's something that your friends in. Somehow Reddit likes not people on Reddit themselves succeeding, it seems like, but like people whose friends succeeding.
Oh, my girlfriend made this. What does Reddit think?
Yeah, but if you said I made this or I'm in this commercial, I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah. So I get this on the front page of Reddit, and with all things that are immediately successful overnight, of course, soon the whispers start coming out. How did this happen? Who's behind this? And I was kind of shocked. I was already having a panic attack because I don't know if you've ever had something go viral, but you suddenly become...
all the time. I know what it's like.
You become like the source of intense scrutiny. Everybody is trying to unearth everything about you, who you are, where you came from, what's the deal with you, and that happened to me. And so at first it's very positive on Reddit. Everyone's like, "Oh, awesome, your roommate's awesome," and then suddenly there's like this immense backlash that starts forming, and I'm like, what is happening here? What? And they all start saying, "Oh, thanks, Discovery marketing team. We know who you are." And I'm like, wait, what? I don't work for Discovery. What are you talking? And then it grows and grows and grows, and soon threads are popping up trying to unearth my identity. And there were whole things like going through my entire like internet history and saying, picking out select phrases.
At some other point you ever said like, "I like sharks," and that was just a thing.
And they're like, "See, obviously it's that he's from the Discovery marketing team. This is just viral marketing." That there's, and there was at one point someone who constructed this whole theory that I am obviously Aaron McPherson, the Discovery commercial producer.
Was it even spelled the same way? I thought it was also something where it was like spelled differently.
No, it's spelled the same way, but like people were just outright trying to piece together patently false information in this loosely connected web of half-truths and, fakery to make it seem like I was some nefarious marketing agent.
Even if it was true, the story would have still held up on Discovery. I guess there would have been something disingenuous if you had been this person who worked for Discovery.
Yeah.
If you'd worked for Discovery running that campaign, you might have cast your friend as the guy riding the sharks. That Reddit post would still then be completely legitimate. Unless what Reddit would be upset about is this guy's not his actual friend. Like that, like the friendship is fake.
And which is even crazier. Like, how do you measure the truth of how friendly you are with a person? And why does that make it suddenly illegitimate?
Yeah. Right.
So I start to try to respond to this. So I post proof, right? Because that's usually what quiets those things down. Is you post a photo with the guy in the commercial saying like, "This is really me." And so I put up a photo, and immediately the conspiracy guys go, "Oh yeah, one photo that says I am actually his roommate. Yeah, what kind of proof is that?"
That also means that if it wasn't real, you like quickly called your actor that you had hired for this and said, "Shit, everything's unraveling. Quick, meet me at a bar." And then you like ran to a bar and pretended to be friends. If you had done that at that point, you got away with it. It's fine. You tried. Like,
right.
You made a friend even if you had lied.
Yeah, and at one point, someone had dug back into my comment history and found like one thing like, "Oh, he's promoting his own podcast now." Oh, so disingenuous because I promoted Paranoia Shoppe.
Oh, that's right.
Which I find is ironic. And he's like, he has no shame, which of course makes no sense.
I wonder if we got any new listeners from that.
Who
at
knows?
All. It'd be
if you're listening, if you found this through that Reddit thread, please
please send us anything.
Send
Even
us
if you think
anything.
Aaron actually still works for Discovery.
Yeah, please write into us at Paranoia Shoppe. That's SHOPPE at gmail.com. Tweet at us at Paranoia Shoppe. Please, I want to talk to you.
I can't imagine. It's one of those things where, like, you think that when you have exposure on a giant, like, internet stage, it's going to just mean everything for you.
Yeah.
But if it's not connected to what they're interested in, no one cares.
Nope.
It's still good you mentioned the podcast, and I appreciate you shouting it out. It's just going to be like, I get one person probably clicked on and went, fags. And just like clicked.
Well, there was a part of me where I was like, oh, if I shamelessly self-promote, then maybe it'll dissuade people from thinking that it's Discovery.
It's like a misdirect. We're like, I'll promote this other podcast. So then you invented a new podcast called Paranoia Shoppe.
Yeah.
Just made it just so you'd seem like another person. Oh, that's amazing.
And here's the irony of this, by the way, is that if I maybe just because I've been doing this podcast and I'm obsessed with these sort of like crazy conspiracies, if you dug back into my own personal history, like if you actually did the research, I actually produced a segment that aired on Discovery Channel years ago when I entered and won a contest that was called You Spoof Discovery, and you basically create a fake episode of a Discovery Channel show, and if it's good enough, they'll air it on a special that they did hosted by Mike Rowe.
When was this?
I won 2007. So
okay.
if they had done even a cursory research, typed in Good Aaron Discovery, found my name, then typed Aaron Waltke Discovery, they would have found that, and that would have been the nail in the fucking coffin.
They would have like, oh man, that was how he started, and then he reinvented himself as
exactly.
new Aaron McPherson.
Because I literally was a producer for the Discovery Channel.
Oh my god.
But no one found it.
I like how those kind of like loose connections keep building off, just as to compare to it, those titles of you being a producer.
Yeah.
The same thing going. Don't mean to hurt anyone's misconceptions. A large part of the internet databases regarding the game Fallout think I'm an executive producer of the game. Because I worked on the game
right
in the audio recording section for like several months. Definitely was never a producer, but since whatever my title was vague, a bunch of sites have just listed me now as Chad Kwan, executive producer of
Creator,
Fallout.
original story by.
Yeah, just like, or whatever. Like, cool, I'm fine with that title.
Well, it's when you're faced between the truth or the legend, print the legend. Okay. Well, anyway, sorry. So that was the conspiracy that was surrounding me and in between our podcasts, and I thought I should bring it up because I've never been that subjective to scrutiny, and I was like, I want to clear the air. I want to tell everyone what happened, that he really was my roommate who got on Discovery Channel.
I think it's died down since then, but I hope this reopens those wounds.
I hope so. I hope that corporate conspiracy or whatever the hell that is picks this up. It's like, oh, he comes clean. And then they edit chunks to make it sound like, yes, I work for Discovery.
This episode's subject matter, can't believe we haven't done this yet, because it seems like it kind of fits perfectly into the idea of theories and riddles and spooky stuff. Of mysterious treasures, right?
Yep, hidden treasure.
Hidden treasures.
Or as I like to call it, X go and mark the spot to you.
No, come on. The stories we have for this, I'm very excited to talk about.
Well, should we talk about the opening first?
Yeah, let's talk about the opening.
As you may have surmised from that opening I gave you off the top of my head.
With Johnny Depp.
That's a real story, believe it or not.
Okay, so explain what happened.
Okay, so there's a hidden treasure in the Mojave Desert, and it's not just some guy went out there and like buried, a bag of gold or something. This is actually an ocean-going ship that supposedly sunk 160 kilometers, that's 100 miles, inland of the Pacific Ocean. There are millions of dollars worth of pearls just outside of the Salton Sea here in California.
Wait, you're just detailing what was in the treasure that was found at this point?
Yes, there's a ship that in the 1600s, the first stories date back to the early 1600s when King Philip of Spain sent a fleet to the western coast of Mexico to dive for pearls. The group didn't find as many pearls as they thought they would, so when they came across a Native American village that had baskets of the round beauties just lying around, They offered lush European garments in exchange for the scores of pearls.
I'm sorry, isn't that like one of the plot points of Indiana Jones 2? That they just use like red stones as like just commonplace tools?
You betrayed Kali.
Like, that's like a very good common like adventure trope of like, these gems are worthless to these Aztec people.
Well, there's also that story that the island of Manhattan was traded for just like a big pearl. Like, we're like, hey, I found this big pearl, and now they have like the most valuable land anyway. But anyway, so the Spanish duped the Native Americans after they traded.
Yes.
And swapped the pearls for rags
Native
instead.
Americans.
And so they could have just traded their garments, and then they wound up just stealing the pearls and giving them rags in exchange.
Why were they ever doing... Was it just so that they would be placated? Because it always seemed like the general story was, we'll trade, and then we still just
stole
murder
anyway.
And pillage all of you anyway.
Well, in this case, it didn't work out for the colonists because the Native Americans were outraged and the tribe attacked the ship as it tried to set sail, wounding the captain, who ordered the two other ships in the fleet to continue looking for pearls while he escaped.
Get cool stones.
Yeah. So here it's thought that one of the ships struck a reef and was sunk, but before it completely submerged, the crew ferried all the treasure onto one remaining ship. It carried it up the Colorado River and into the Salton Sea, where it met its demise. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Salton Sea.
No.
Have I told you about this before?
I don't think so.
So the Salton Sea is this really bizarre California feature, and I've actually been there, right? And it's not... sea is a misnomer, right? Because it's actually just like a big, dry basin.
That what occasionally floods?
That occasionally floods every, 10,000 years or something. And the last one was around 1600. But most recently, the beginning of the 1950s, I want to say... a bunch of agriculture accidentally dumped a ton of water that all ran into this basin and formed this lake, right?
Okay.
And so then, of course, it being the 50s and 60s, they're like, hey, why don't we just market this? And they tried to say, it's the new ocean. Come form a beach community.
They tried to make like a fun little town for
and so this vacation spot sprung up. But what they didn't anticipate was with no natural recurring water that was feeding into it, it slowly started to evaporate and became more and more salinized. Like, it became more salty to the point where it was uninhabitable, and fumes, poisonous gas.
Walk outside and just your skin would melt.
Yeah, fumes of poisonous gas would waft up off of this death ocean and just sweep over these beaches, and it became this ghost town of a tourist trap. And so
you can still there at all?
It's still there.
That's cool.
But I went there. And it is the creepiest, by far the most foreboding, desolate place I've ever been.
So now it's just a desert basin.
It's
in
a
desert part?
It's in California, Southern California, and the beach. You know how you walk out and there's you can find shells. You walk on sand. The beach is literally made of bones, dead bones of fish.
Oh,
and
say
birds.
humans. Oh, Jesus.
Maybe humans. Okay. I didn't walk that, but it's 3 and you step on it. It's 5 inches deep. Your feet sink into bones.
You could find a way to sell that as a new vacation place, though.
I think it's become this sort of destination for people who like strange locations.
You could sell it to the Hot Topic, Marilyn Manson crowd of get your summer vacation home. It's in the dark, sunny desert.
So anyway, in this valley of ocean death, there is supposedly this ship that in the 1600s, the last time there was a flood, got swept up into the middle of the Mojave Desert and then transplanted with these millions of dollars worth of pearls. And it's become this sort of legend that if you can find the pearls, you will become a millionaire.
Oh, so they haven't discovered it. Well, I think you said they found the ship.
So here's the thing. In 1870, the Los Angeles Star reported that Charlie Klusker and a party started out again this morning to find the mythical ship upon the desert this side of Dos Palmas. Charlie made the trip 3 or 4 weeks ago, but made the wrong chute and mired his wagon 15 miles from Dos Palmas. He's satisfied from information received that the Indians that the ship is no myth. He's prepared with a good wagon, pack saddles, and planks to cross the sandy ground. And then on December 1st, that same year, the San Bernardino Guardian stated that Charlie Klusker and party returned from the desert yesterday just as we were going to press. They had a hard time of it, but they have succeeded in their effort. The ship has been found. Charlie returns to the desert today to reap the fruition of his labors. He was without food or water under a hot, broiling sun for over 24 hours and came near perishing.
Wait, what guy finds a ship full of treasure and then, clocks back in for work the next day at 8 a.m.? I don't want to let you guys hang.
Well, I think he found it and then was we don't have, I almost died finding this. We don't have the means to get all these pearls back. So he comes back, says he found it, and is about to go back out. So he, along with his party, he goes back out to this ornately carved Spanish galleon that he found in the Mojave. But then not much longer after his expedition to collect the abandoned loot, much like the elusive ship, he was never seen again.
Oh, so did he ever show proof at all? Like he never showed
No.
I have. You would think he would grab like a handful of pearls.
You'd think so. Maybe he had them.
A gold coin?
I mean, let's be real here. This part of journalism, talking about the history of journalism, this is all about, like, sensationalism. This was yellow rag,
What year was this?
yellow journalism, 1870s.
Oh, yeah. You just started to say things like, monkeys can fly sometimes if you're enough of a sinner.
Local scientists weigh souls.
God was found. We killed him.
So he was never seen again, and it's thought that erosion may have covered the ship up. And it's gone forever. So supposedly somewhere here in Southern California, in the middle of the desert, there's still this Spanish galleon filled with millions of dollars of pearls.
Do you have any idea of how big the basin area is? Like, just even could be that it would be under? Is it like 100 square miles? Like,
well, it's 100 miles inland. That's what people suspect. But
Okay.
the Mojave is a very large place, and there's so much sand being blown around. It could be anywhere, really.
okay.
Like the basin itself is pretty large, and
That is some real though. That is some Pirates of the Caribbean stuff.
Oh,
That is, like,
absolutely.
the perfect way, and they have like the reveal like halfway through the movie where like we can't find this ship anywhere, and then again because I want to keep doing awesome Jack Sparrow impressions, like no love, it's not in the water, it's in the mountains. I don't know why I became Arnold Schwarzenegger.
what, you became like Werner Herzog. It's in the mountains.
It's in the nature.
In nature.
In Grizzly Man. Sorry.
In the harsh realities.
All
of
right.
nature.
So there's been no further discoveries of it.
No,
Is
but
there-
legend has it these pearls still await the weary traveler.
Is it attached at all to the legend of like if you go to this salt ghost town where there's just bones everywhere? Is there like a tourism guy is like follow me and maybe you'll find that pirate ship
and
too?
then as you're following him, he just goes, "You are dead here," and vanishes. He was a ghost.
Half the time someone finds the ship, he's like, God damn it, and just has to kill them.
Pile of bones.
Yeah, it just adds them to the bones, just kind of sprinkles them in with the birds so no one finds them.
So I thought that was pretty
That's
cool.
pretty
and it's
cool.
like within distance. Like
Let's
you and
go.
I could actually
Let's go. Let's go and
let's
do a
go
remote
die
segment.
in the desert.
Well, no, we'll bring a camel back. Like that's all. Here's all of these stories, and this is the next one I want to talk about. All seem to revolve around, man. If you just had some modern technology, we have this figured out, all right. Like even now, I'm like we could really just kind of slowly comb the desert and just go over with a metal detector, and you would find something. You would think.
But it's so much space. Like you would have to. It'd be so
What
much
else are
money.
we doing? We got like all this like extra
You would
military
spend.
stuff.
You would spend $80 million to find a $3 million treasure.
Okay, all right. That is the perfect segue into what I want to talk about.
Okay.
As far as wasting tons of money to find other treasure, that is the saddest irony over a lot of these stories.
Yeah.
My story that I wanted to talk about, one of my favorite things ever, read this originally in like Rolling Stone. See, kids, Rolling Stone is still a magazine, I guess. I haven't seen it for a while. I assume it's still publishing.
It's around.
Still around.
It's
Used
now
to
basically
be-
Entertainment Weekly.
Rolling Stone used to be the thing where like, oh, we got the super hot musician to do like a naked pictorial, like that Britney Spears cover she did when her career first came out. That was Chad's puberty started right there. There's an article in Rolling Stone in the mid '90s, and it still tons of stuff about Oak Island.
Oh yeah, I love Oak Island.
Okay, so you already know Oak Island. You had to know Oak Island because I'm sure I would talk to you about it. So I'll just tell it to you guys. Oak Island is the best treasured story with people just continually trying to find something that they know is basically there.
Yep.
So Oak Island, very small little place. Actually, let me just
In
go over
Canada, right?
Yes, it's in Canada. So
Yar.
Canada mysteries are
Yar.
the best mysteries.
Yar, there be Canadian pirates
Yeah,
here.
I had to break
Yar.
down. There is a long breakdown of don't you know there? We got a treasure, eh? Like that kind of.
There be pirates up here, eh?
So Oak Island is spanning essentially like 200 years at this point, as far as the legend of Oak Island.
Yeah.
And people continually go to this place, pretty sure there is treasure, and there has to be something, right? So the main thing is it starts in like the late 1700s, as far as a few kids just kind of happen to notice there's like some unnatural man-made spots on this small island, like
mounds.
Yeah, mounds. There's some kind of like flagstones, And they start. It actually starts with a man named Daniel McGinnis or McInnes. No one seems to know exactly.
Terry McGinnis.
It's Terry McGinnis. It's Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
And they start digging this area where there's a lot of obviously like clear markings. And as they keep going farther and farther, they'll find like flagstone. So like you dig a little bit deeper, you see like a mark of rocks, which would not be natural at all. 10 feet further, started finding this tier of rotten oak logs. So there's no treasure map. This is clearly just say like, this is a strange spot. Something seems to have been hidden here or marked here.
Right.
And as you dug deeper and deeper, you started finding more and more weird tiers of man-made stuff. Usually like you dig 10 more feet. And that's also the fact that it was always 10 feet intervals. You would find more and more man-made constructions.
So it's actually just a really cool archaeological site.
Yeah, oh man, it's like, if you want to be an archaeologist, this is like the thing.
Yeah.
Because usually it's like dig forever and you find one thing. This is like, you keep getting new levels of stuff.
Right.
So every 10 feet you go farther and farther and you'd see like rotten oak logs or more stones and dig deeper and deeper. But basically, like in the 1700s when they first found it, they're like, that's kind of strange. But people on the island were already like, oh, there's probably ghosts or something. You should leave that alone. So they had to let it be. This is a main theme of Oak Island, is that people keep coming back to it every 10 or 20 years thinking like, now we have it.
Right.
Now we got to figure it out.
So the legend is that the area was like a pirate cove at some point,
That has been the
right?
most popular theory, that this was like used by pirates.
Yeah, Captain Kidd specifically. I
Yes,
believe.
which has been disproved more and more as I guess details about Captain Kidd's like where he was and that sort of thing. But it's super cool.
But that's the lore, is that this was a pirate cove, and Captain Kidd, the notorious buccaneer, had left stashes, his big treasure trove, on Oak Island.
And that had already been around in the late 1700s, was people already saying it was a pirate cove. Around 10 years later, another group of people joined the same original McGinnis, and more people like business. There's always businessmen. There's always like a couple dudes and business guys.
This seems like a good business venture.
Yeah. From the town of Onslow, create a treasure hunting consortium called the Onslow Company. So they're starting like early 1800s, like 1800, 1803. But it's also people sometimes say like 1810. Anyway, early 1800s. And they keep digging more and more and keep finding these intervals of stuff in this spot.
But no gold.
No gold, though they keep going. So like they'll find like 10 feet, they'll find oak platforms. Then like a layer of like clay or charcoal or like coconut husks, which shouldn't be underground unless people intentionally buried them.
Yeah.
So you're finding layers of stuff that shouldn't just be there. Then at 90 feet, allegedly, they supposedly found a flat stone bearing an indecipherable inscription. So there's like a zodiac key stone, and no one knows has ever figured out what it means. Soon after they found that, probing with a crowbar, they struck something hard, possibly a wooden chest, but discontinued for the evening. So they're like, they like we found it, it's here. All right, let's all take a nap.
All right.
And this is where Oak Island just starts becoming like the biggest asshole. The next morning they wake up and the shaft they had dug, which is now probably like 90 feet deep, had flooded with water.
Womp womp.
No rain, it just like water had mysteriously filled it.
So pirates came in the night with little buckets of water, like, they won't find me treasure.
Well, an old neighbor just came in with a hose, like, I'll show them. So they keep trying to start bailing out the tunnel with water, and find the level stays the same. So it's not just that there was a pile, something is adding water to this tunnel.
So there's probably some sort of pirate trap.
Yeah, so this whole tunnel is pirate traps. That's the most amazing thing. So they keep trying to bypass the water. They know there's clearly something that they had triggered that started filling it. They had just taken this stupid chest. They could have just taken it right then, or something would have been there, and some sort of clue. But that was enough time for this pirate trap to fill with water, and they were never able to get the water level to go down enough to get. Again, it's like early 1800s. They don't have like scuba equipment. Yeah. They're just like guys who can poke their heads underwater and hope they can see something.
They swim as far as they can.
And it's just sand and mud and clay, and they're not going to see anything for it. The next year, the men come back and try to bypass the water by digging a parallel shaft. That seems to happen a lot. They keep thinking like, oh, we figured out this trap. So they dig another shaft, going down in attempts to basically like either get to the treasure or bypass the water trap.
Right.
And again, the shaft fills with water. So the Onslow Company just ends.
They're like, well, we wasted all of our lives.
Yeah. So these guys are just like, yeah, that's the saddest thing. So many of these men are throwing their lives away to Oak Island. So the cache just lays dormant, like old men. They just became old and like, yeah, there was that time we almost found treasure. Just let it go.
Time to die.
Until 1849, another group called the Truro Company re-excavated the original shaft. When they encountered the water, like they were expecting, the workers then set up a platform in the pit and used a hand-operated auger to drill and remove cores of material. So not trying to remove the water as much as just
see what's
get
in
samples. They found clay, bits of wood, and 3 links of gold chain, which is the whole thing of like, oh, we found some buried treasure or something. Again, I guess people could have just been lying, but they found this. And this
so if they hadn't found that gold chain, they probably would have given up.
They probably would have given up.
But
Like,
instead,
okay,
they were like, we just did a core sample of fucking treasure.
Yeah. So they keep digging new shafts. Again, they all just keep getting filled with water. This is in the middle of the island.
In the Canadian wilderness.
Yeah, this shouldn't be like, it's not like it's just near the shore where like, I guess there would just be like a little underground river. They keep finding tunnels that fill with water. The operations continue all the way up till 1862, during which time a workman was scalded to death by a ruptured boiler. So Oak Island takes its first victim. They've now gotten nothing but 3 gold links and a dead man.
Millions of dollars.
And a father who was burned to death by a ruptured boiler. So the Oak Island Association followed and attempted to intersect the tunnel. So this is where they're really trying to cut it off, fed with water to the pit. When they went down to 120 foot, they missed. Another tunnel was sunk, and then reportedly a 3x4 foot tunnel was extended about 18 feet to the Money Pit. So now the pit is being called the Money Pit.
Yeah, it's now called the Oak Island Money Pit.
Which is, I think at that point, Money Pit still meant something you sink a bunch of money into that isn't worth it.
But it's also a pit that may have money in it.
Also a great Tom Hanks movie. Very, very good. About a man trying to build a house that keeps collapsing.
Yep.
Again, water keeps coming in again and again, which is kind of scary to think about these, like, all these like underground tunnels and like weird little piping and somehow pirates having like a better understanding of modern day plumbing than like we do.
Hydrodynamics.
Yeah.
Yar! The pressure valves need be adjusting.
So as the water's coming in, they try to just bail it all out, and then the loud crash, the Money Pit collapsed completely. So they start digging, and the Money Pit just completely sinks in. So people start theorizing that maybe like the chest that they have not seen since someone initially saw it 50 years ago had just fallen deeper into it, and that the pit may have had more booby traps to basically cave in. I believe that. I think it's easier to have like a pit that collapses rather than has mysterious water tunnels. Another association tries in 1866, gets nothing. So another failed business venture. It's like
That's
one way.
insane. Can I just say, like, to think that the pirates would care that much to
this is and this is what it is. Because of how crazy the defenses is for Oak Island, the fact that we still can't get to it makes everyone, spoilers, no one's figured out what's in Oak Island. But there's crazier, more attempts at getting at it. Makes people start to believe that some of the things have been like the Holy Grail or like the lost French jewels, like all of these like major artifacts. People start
the Ark of the Covenant.
The Ark of the Covenant,
Canadian
because
island.
something has to be proportional to the amount of traps that are possibly in here. It can't just be like some gold coins. It has to be something really, really good.
Some magical artifact.
Yeah. So as they start digging into the tunnel, they like drill and they're dynamite. People are blowing up this island at this point.
Destroying it.
Yeah. The only thing of interest they get out of all of these just boring into the island is a script of parchment that has 2 letters on it, which reads like R-I, like re. That's all they think it says. So they found a piece of paper deep down. Well, who knows what the hell that is? Like that could be from an earlier expedition. So they find paper deep down into the tunnel. They also found traces of a chalk-like stone or cement, so something that also would feel unnatural in the island. So this is the craziest thing is that Oak Island looks natural, and then everything below it just seems like it's made by humans.
Artificial island.
It's like a Truman Show island. Yeah. That same year, another guy dies when a worker was being hoisted from one of the pits, and the rope slipped from its pulley, plunging him to his death. 2 men have now died before the 1900s trying to get into Oak Island. That company runs out of funds. None of these stories ever talk about how like the family. No one ever seems to like sue these companies. They're like, well, he tried. He had a dream.
He died doing what he loved, going in and out of a pit.
Diving into pirate holes. So that company runs out of funds, and they like sell all their assets. And so more and more people keep doing searches. Basically, at this point, by the early 1900s, the Money Pit has been so excavated that all like early kind of landmarks and points of where people had originally digging, no one can tell what it is anymore.
They're destroyed by
it's just been like kind of like strip mining, where it's just been torn apart and there's craters and holes everywhere. Like I don't know. So there's no way to even like start using logic to discern like, well, maybe that was actually supposed to like be a sign to point. Everything's gone. Yeah. Everything's just been completely destroyed. If it was a CSI crime scene, it'd be like Law and Order SVU, if IC just came in and just like grabbed everything and just started like rolling around on the dirt to try to find something, and just doing like snow angels in the dirt.
It's like, so you're saying that I can just make these snow angels?
So you're saying if I happen to find a knife or something, that's probably a clue. And like, yeah, Ice-T, just hang back. Like, we're trying to mark everything, and they're destroying this entire crime scene essentially. People are continually digging nothing, getting no luck at all. More water tunnels.
Among the centuries worth of people trying to excavate this supposed pirate cove, Franklin D. Roosevelt was one of the people who
I did not know that, but that makes perfect sense.
Like, he wheeled his wheelchair in there and was like, build a ramp for me.
He stared down at the tunnel. He stared down at the tunnel and said, come out of there. Come out of there, treasure.
Come out of there, you treasure.
So while they're getting no luck, another 4 people die when a shaft is overcome by swamp gas or engine fumes. They don't seem to know what killed these men. So either it was a swamp gas trap or bad construction, and they killed themselves with their own machinery.
Oh, I just found, apparently someone supposedly translated that stone tablet, and supposedly it says, 40 feet below, 2 million pounds lie buried.
And that's right. Who knows if that's true?
That's probably made up.
A lot of this stuff is that also the first, 50, 100 years, you have these guys going through and everything's like hearsay.
Yeah.
Like, the initial stories of the first 10 or 15 feet of things, no one can prove. There was no, photographic evidence. So it could just be old guys just telling stories. It is pretty crazy that there definitely are man-made levels. Yeah, we're now at mid-1950s. At least 6 men have died.
6 men have been claimed.
3 gold chains. Also, but forget this, there's been a ton of other crazy stuff. I forgot to mention, this is how much money people are sinking into these. At one point, one of the companies, basically, it was getting hard to move the digging equipment to the island, built a bridge from the mainland
to Oak Island.
To, just transport, shipments and, get the... That's just, they're just sinking money into this entire thing.
They spent $3 million to find maybe $2 million.
Yeah. So we're getting closer to the modern age. In 1966, a Florida building contractor named Dan Blankenship. None of these guys were adventurers. They're all just business dudes.
And it's I got some extra
who heard about
dough.
it. Yeah, I could get it now. This is I think what the craziest thing is. It really again and again. It's that American man says, "Oh, those were old guys. I can get it this time.
I know what's going on.
Yeah, we got better drills now.
I know the score."
So this guy named Dan Blankenship and another businessman named David Tobias start a new partnership. Extensive drilling, doing at least 60 holes all across the island in a year.
Wow.
They're just I think at this point, there's whatever, we'll find something. They're just digging the entire island into Swiss cheese. They keep going for 2 more years and get a set of investors called the Trident Alliance, which is very, very, very cool. But there's infighting, and there's a stock market crash of 1987, and so the entire operation just falls apart, and they've sunk at least $10 million into it.
Wow. So right around when The Wolf of Wall Street starts is when this ends.
The Wolf of Wall Street ruined Oak Island.
Yeah.
At this point, there had been a small tourism industry around Oak Island, but once more and more the diggings just stopped, the island's just gone into disrepair. So at this point now, it's just kind of sitting around. There's
a bunch of sinkholes. It's probably dangerous.
And it seems like every couple years, another group of people go into it and get nothing. And that was what the 1995 Rolling Stone article was about. Was basically another group of people going yeah, I guess we can get it. No one gets it. No one is getting through it. But the list of things, like I said before, is people are starting things I don't know, I guess it could be Captain Kidd's treasure. It could be Atlantis. No one has been able to get past this island, but there's definite evidence. No one's disputing that there are weird man-made levels of traps.
Yeah. But it was probably just some weird hermit who lived there, 300 years ago and spent his entire life just building weird shit. Interesting aside, apparently the game Assassin's Creed 3 heavily features Oak Island in one of its side missions.
I would have picked that up. I played that terrible game.
Well, it's in the side mission that you didn't play where you do all the ship missions.
Oh, yeah,
and then it unlocks this secret, and it implies that in that extra story mission that the treasure of Captain Kidd is actually an ancient alien artifact that repels bullets.
Oh, is that where that goes?
The reason modern-day excavators haven't found anything is because Assassin's Creed Indian guy already found it, and it's a magic ring.
Really, Assassin's Creed 3 is really bad. It's a really bad.
That was the only part I liked, actually, was
the shipbuilding
that
stuff.
Side mission.
No, the ship stuff's great. I just didn't finish that quest because someone was it just deflects 20% of the bullets fired at you. I was that's not worth 20 hours of my time.
So that was the Oak Island money pit. 6 lives claimed, millions
Tons
spent.
Of money. And even now, I want to go there and get it figured out. Like, I don't even know if anyone's like an engineer or has like a degree in that or is trying to study. I don't know how you would attack the island at this point to get to what's down below there. Also, arguably at this point, probably if it was a treasure or anything like that with those traps, those usually meant like, I don't want to keep people from getting to it. It's also that I won't ever get it again either. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to like, it's gone. If someone gets to it before me, no one gets it.
Yep.
That water and all those floods probably destroyed whatever's ever in there.
True. It's probably long gone.
If it's gold coins, right, that chest is like airtight. It's just going to be like evaporated and eroded at this point.
But the mystery remains. Speaking of sort of North American-based hidden treasures,
yeah, let's only focus on North America.
Well, I have a few, but I also have some worldwide stuff for you people. By the way, we're kind of skipping over. Besides that one ship in the middle of the desert, I kind of skipped the ones that are like ships that sank because we already kind of covered that in past episodes, and also that's not a lot of mystery around that.
James Cameron's figured out most of them.
Yeah, like those are real hidden treasures. Is like ships that had a bunch of gold on them and then they sank.
We're also skipping National Treasure.
Well, a lot of these feel very National Treasury, but let me just give you this one. In 1820, a strange man named Thomas J. Beale ambled into a remote forest cottage looking for a bed for the winter. The owner of the cottage, one Mr. Robert Morris, trusted the man and gave him shelter. After some time, the two became friends, and as they warmed themselves by the fire, Mr. Beale trusted Morris enough to reveal his greatest secret, a cave of wonders and a secret cliff.
What, like Aladdin?
And a pact between frontiersmen to keep it safe so that their heirs could reap its wealth should they muster the ability to return after the harsh winter. He would say no more.
What?
Instead, Beale gave Morris a locked box. In 10 years, Beale would send a book and a key to be used in conjunction with the box. He then departed, never to be seen again.
I'm sorry, just to catch up, he's not giving him the treasure. He's just saying, like, I'm going to come back for this.
He said, I found a cave of wonders. Here's a box, a locked box. In 10 years, I will send you a key and a book to be used with this box, should I not return. He never returned, but after a decade passed, Morris never received a key or a book. Curiosity finally got the better of Morris, and he decided to break open the lockbox to reveal its contents. Inside were 3 leaves of paper. They were covered in strange codes and ciphers, impossible to decrypt or understand. The first were just labeled as directions to the cave. The second was an exact description of the contents of the cave.
This is great. This is the best puzzle map ever.
And then paper number 3 gives the names in the Thomas J. Beale party, the names and addresses of their heirs who are to receive their respective shares of the Beale treasure should Thomas J. Beale or an authorized person never return to claim the locked box.
So what was his game plan? Like, if I know I'm going to die and I'm able to get back, I'll at least send it to you, random person, to do this for me.
Yes. So, Morris spent years trying to decipher the letters, but he was only ever able to decode the second letter, which described the contents of the treasure. He did this by trial and error. This was accomplished by consecutively numbering the words in the Declaration of Independence.
What?
And substituting the first letter of each word for the corresponding number in the Beale cipher number 2. This only worked for the second letter. How was he able to figure this out? Why use the Declaration of Independence as a cipher? Because Mr. Thomas J. Beale once revealed his middle name was Jefferson. As in Thomas Jefferson Beale.
Wait. Thomas Jefferson was a treasure hunter.
I don't know if
is what you're telling me.
I think the implication is that he used the Declaration of Independence because he was named after Thomas Jefferson.
Okay, I thought you were saying that somehow he was like alive at this time and was just a treasure hunter.
Yeah, no.
Let's start figuring out what would be the other 3. What would be the other 2 things that you would use for cipher bases? So you have Declaration of Independence. What is also comparable and is equally as important?
Bill of Rights.
Bill of Rights. The lyrics to Johnny Be Good.
That one song, Let the Freedom Soar.
The back of ingredients for a Campbell's soup can. What else is like most Americana
Always
thing?
drink your Ovaltine.
Yeah. Oh, God. What that's so crazy. So, what was in the treasure?
He decoded the one he was able to decode. Basically, said that he had vast stores of gold and silver, millions of dollars worth, $17,000 worth of gems and jewelry, and heirlooms and artifacts beyond measure were to be found in this cave they had hidden.
I like that he makes this really ciphered document, which is clearly supposed to be like no one should be able to read this unless they're really, really important. And he's still just kind of vague. Like, really cool stuff. Not like 20-pound gold, 5 red gems. It's just like, dope.
So a lot of people... It's really dope, dog.
Dope stuff.
So a lot of people are speculating that the book that would have come with the key would have been the cipher to uncode the other letters that were never uncoded.
Sure.
The facts that people have been able to uncover of where this money came from and what the hell it was that apparently in 1817, 3 years earlier, Thomas J. Beale had come with a company of 30 men for the purpose of visiting the Great Western Plains to hunt buffalo and other game.
And they found a cool treasure cave?
They were following a large herd of bison, and then one of the men discovered a cleft in the rocks that showed something that appeared to be gold.
It was bison treasure.
They found a gold mine, and then they just spent several years mining all this gold in secret, but never had a chance to really do it.
Meanwhile, telling their bosses, we're not finding anything out here. Just like some bison.
Well, Thomas J. Beale was the boss.
Oh, so he doesn't report to anyone.
They were so afraid of someone else finding it that they hid it in a cave, and then it turned out that cave was used by farmers to store their vegetables, so they put it in this other secret place that was known to a select few.
Where is this being revealed? They're like, farmers just came into the cave.
That's just
we had to kill them.
That's what other people found.
Okay.
And the new location of the treasure that supposedly existed was only known to a select few. Thomas J. Beale being the sole guy who knew.
He killed the rest of those people, right?
Oh yeah, it was probably a tontine.
Oh my god, tontines are the best. I want to do a tontine so bad.
Somewhere, Genie's Aladdin is just sitting in some pioneer cave.
So no one's ever been able to figure out at all where the cave would be?
No, because it's the ciphers that are based on a random book, like a specific edition of a book, are almost impossible to solve without the codec.
That's right, because you need to be able to reference every word, right? It's like every number.
And there's millions of books, obviously. But who knows? But supposedly it amounts to about $63 million that are hidden somewhere in Bedford County, Virginia.
And that's the value of Virginia. You could buy Virginia for that.
You could have bought the state.
You could buy it now.
Yeah, who cares about Virginia, really?
That's great. So what happened to, who has these?
They're just in that guy's, personal, estate, these
just
letters.
Just stares at them
yeah, just weird, cryptic letters in this guy's estate.
Oh, God, I hope there's, a genie lamp in there.
There's a genie lamp. He's like, hey, let me out. Oh, I'm sorry.
As soon as you started doing, it's like, no, Aaron, I can't handle Robin Williams' impression.
I'm sad. You can't bring back from the dead. That's one of the 3 rules.
Yeah, 3 rules. Oh, God. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Anyway, so that was the hidden genie somewhere in Virginia. I have a bunch of really rapid fire.
Sure, hit some small ones.
Butch Cassidy's $20,000 stash. You know the story of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, the whole wall gang.
They started a movie screening.
Yeah, there was Robert Redford is the assumed name of Butch Cassidy. After
he Sundance Festival,
he used the money from his raids to found an indie festival in Utah. But Butch Cassidy is arguably one of the most notable outlaws of the Wild West. He was such an outlaw that he even formed an outlaw group called the Wild Bunch to travel with him, robbing whoever they felt like.
I feel like they're trying too hard with that name, by the way.
The Wild Bunch?
Yeah.
Or the Wild Bunch.
Wild Bunch is like a 70s dance crew.
Wow! But at one point, the law was hot on their trail, and Cassidy and the Wild Bunch, after robbing a bank or something, were forced to ditch $20,000 worth of loot somewhere in Irish Canyon, located in the northwest part of Colorado in Moffat County. So somewhere in this canyon, there's $20,000 worth of gold.
We know this is because the next city they were in, they just didn't have it.
And the gang were like, we had to just ditch it, and we'll come back for it. And then he was killed before he could come back.
Okay.
So
that's around there somewhere.
There's no real clues other than that it's in this canyon and to bring a good metal detector.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, what else? Give us another one.
John Dillinger's buried treasure.
Dillinger Escape Plan.
You may have heard of John Dillinger. He was sort of a folk hero to people from Indiana because he was our outlaw.
We needed one.
He was most famous, I think, he was on the lam, just like, Bonnie and Clyde, except he was just an outlaw. I think he's most famous for, at one point, escaping a jail with a gun that he carved out of soap.
Yeah, I always heard that story. No one seems to be able to prove how that would be a thing other than he just tricked everyone to thinking it was a gun.
Yeah, and I've seen the gun. There's a John Dillinger museum really close to where I grew up, and they had one of the... I think he did it 2 or 3 times, and they had one of his soap guns.
How is he bringing these guns in here?
He's so good at it.
Yeah.
Bang, bang. Get out of here.
So he escaped, but what was his treasure?
So he was hiding out with a few of his outlaw buddies in April of 1934. FBI agents found out they were hiding in the Little Bohemia Lodge in Mercer, Wisconsin, which I've been to, actually, and they surrounded Dillinger along with Babyface Nelson and the other men. The FBI shot the first 3 men walking out of the door, all 3 of whom happened to be civilians.
Oops, sorry about that, guys. FBI here, sorry about that.
Yeah, amid all the confusion, the gangsters were able to escape out a back entrance. It said that Dillinger ran a few hundred meters, or yards, north of the roadhouse where he buried $200,000 in small bills inside a suitcase. Just 2 months later, Dillinger was shot to death in Chicago, never to get the chance to go back and find the money.
How has that not been found? That's like the size of a building, right?
Well, I bet it's like the end of the money pit where they find the mobster money and then it's just mush because it's so old.
Or people just keep coming in and like killing you as you find it, and then someone keeps coming in and killing you. Yeah,
respect the dead.
There's a continual, just long passing down of shooting someone as they come in and find the money.
Hey, stay away from John Dillinger's money.
And they shoot him, and they shoot him. Next guy goes and gets the money. Another guy walks in and just keeps shooting him, and then like there's just a pile of bodies over at this point.
Yeah. So this is one that's maybe a little longer, but what if I were to tell you that El Dorado was actually a MacGuffin and that there really was a lost city of gold in South America?
How would El Dorado be the MacGuffin, though? I mean, like, it's real, you're saying.
It's real, but it was not called El Dorado and actually was created because of El Dorado.
Come on, go on.
Okay, so most people have heard the story of El Dorado, a city full of gold lost somewhere in the rainforests of South America.
Elton John wrote some music about it.
In fact, El Dorado, it was a legend about a Musica chieftain, which translates to the Golden One, who would cover himself with gold dust before certain religious ceremonies. But the conquistadors misinterpreted that as, oh, there's a golden city somewhere, and we have to go find this golden city. So the Incas, being a smart lot, realized, oh shit, they're going to kill us if they find our gold. So all of the Incan Empire, notoriously, the conquistadors kept scouring and raising the Incan Empire and finding no gold. We're like, where's the gold?
No, let me explain it to you. There's a guy who has gold paint. Just stabbed it.
So this theory goes that actually they did have gold, not like a city made of gold, but they had little amounts of gold to use for ceremonial purposes. In order to save the gold that these conquistadors wanted, they took it all to a secret city somewhere in the Amazon and stored it all there. And so they basically created a city of gold in order to keep it safe from the conquistadors.
I thought you were about to say that they just painted the city gold with like bug paste and stuff.
No, it was basically Incan crowdfunding.
They put it in a big bank. They put it in one safe spot, which is probably the worst idea, honestly.
But nobody ever found it. And it's now known as the lost city of El Paititi, where...
Please say that over and over again.
Paititi. In brief, the Spanish have been at war with the Incas for nearly 40 years, and they retreated to the Vilcabamba Valley, where they held off invaders until 1572, and the new city was never found, nor was the gold, but eventually the story was relegated to the status of myth. However, in 2009, approximately where Paititi was thought to be, in recently deforested areas of the Boca de Acre region of Brazil, they revealed there once were vast settlements that had since been broken down and redispersed somewhere else by the Inca Empire.
I think they would have taken the gold and then moved it
they moved it there. So there was a period of, who knows, maybe 80 years, 100 years, where there was a vast golden secret city. And then they're like, oh shit, we should probably move this back now that the conquistadors are...
It's also very bright and shiny. The sun too bright.
So they can clearly be seen by Google Earth, and now the historians have to be like, oh, maybe that lost city of Taipiti was real. And
sorry, you're saying you can see the new settlements?
You can see where a settlement, right where the legend said there was a vast city, but like there was never found, actually was there once all of the loggers came in and cut down all the trees.
You know, the biggest sad part is that they did all of this like moving theoretically to save their gold. Didn't keep any of them. Didn't help them all. They all just got murdered. Like maybe you should have given them the gold and just like be like, get on your way, please.
Yeah. So it's thought that artifacts, Incan gold bars, jewelry, value of up to about $10 billion by today's standards may have once been held there.
So that gold's somewhere, or we just plundered it already. And
I think it was probably redispersed and sold, and who God knows what.
This is my question for all of these stories you said is, what is the likelihood that these treasures existed, right? And all of them that did, or any of them that did, people found them, just never told anyone, right? The odds are is that most likely if you find this treasure, you have no reason to ever come public with it. The only way you're like going to get discovered is if people are like, yeah, you know how Jim went to like Arkansas for a nice like week of camping. Now he came back and he like bought our company. Like, that's weird. And then you would start to investigate and find out maybe Jim found a treasure. Otherwise, right, I think at this point it's pretty safe to say that if we found anything, even not in like the normal American territory, the government would somehow come and claim it. This is not an anti-government claim.
True.
It's like,
but no, like it's entirely possible that these things are found, and then a guy who just supposedly made his millions elsewhere just found them all.
You have no reason to share your treasure with the public unless you think it belongs in a museum like Indiana Jones.
Well, interesting you should say that, because this next story kind of ties in with that.
Okay.
And this is about the lost crown jewels of King John.
Oh, okay. I've been looking for those.
So, King John the Bad, probably best known for being...
wearing a leather jacket.
He wore a leather jacket and constantly went, "Ay!" and punched music jukeboxes. Probably best known for being such a dickhead to his people that they rose up against him and forced him to sign the Magna Carta, thus humiliating him and stripping him of supreme power over the people. Was particularly fond of collecting, aka stealing, jewelry and gold plate for himself and coinage for his guards, soldiers, and court followers.
I believe it says in the textbook, dope rubies. I believe it says he loved dope rubies.
So anyway, John the Bad had this vast store of ill-gotten gains, but apparently this hoard soon met an untimely fate of its own. In 1216... King John was traveling to Bishop's Lynn in Norfolk, in England, where he arrived on the 9th of October. The area is aptly named for the Wash, as it is a huge expanse of marshes and dangerous mudflats, and the road can only be traveled in low tide. During high tide, water from the ocean just rushes in and covers over the land.
This really sounds like a Game of Thrones territory. Feels like right at home, yeah.
Yeah, but he literally had the moniker of the Bad.
Mm-hmm. The Bad. They weren't even like smart with his name.
Yeah, so the king himself, as he was just like going around pillaging shit, he kind of took a side route, but then he had his money train, his caravan, take this marsh route. However, his soldiers and carts full of personal possessions and crown jewels and jewelry that he inherited from his grandmother and the Empress of Germany, they took the shorter route through the marshes because they were traveling slower. But the incoming low tide that covered the route of the Wash proved to be too much water too fast and for the slow entourage, and many of the wagons, including the crown jewels, were drowned.
So there was a point in time where they're like, we should get out of here. He's like, no. Like, he basically just
I like to think just like there's this slow wagon train. It's like, oh, the tide's out there for a while. We'll be fine.
And you have 9 hours of slow oncoming
it's coming.
tide.
Here it comes. Faster, faster. And then it's just like, we can't find the jewels.
Oh, man. Paranoia Shoppe. We're so good at accents and impressions. We're really good at them.
Jewels.
We're really good at them. So,
go faster. A little faster.
Did anyone die, or was it like everyone got out but the treasure was?
People drowned. People died in that baggage train.
In a slow incoming tide.
Yeah. Just trying to run away.
How do you die from a tide? Like,
you get swept out, I guess.
But you just keep continually walking inland.
Maybe it was like a Titanic thing where they were like, oh, if I let these little baggage claim with all the crown jewels go under, I'll surely be decapitated. I better just try to get it out of here. And then slowly, as the water's around his ankles, then around his waist. Maybe just a little faster.
I'm so sorry, I didn't do as good of a job. And just as his head goes underneath the low tide.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure.
Play music. That would be great.
So, supposedly, what really happened might be much more complex. Some people suspect that this was actually a ruse, and that King John left his jewels in order to bribe someone to have safe passage.
So you're saying he gave up the jewels when he left?
And then he sacrificed all these men in a marsh in order to cover up them being lost. That's one theory.
I'm now imagining him doing it like he has still loyal followers, and it's like that scene from The Dark Knight Rises where Bane, where they're in the plane, and Bane, tells that one guy, no, brother, they need some of us in the wreckage. And just, the fire rises. And but it's just, John the Bad, just, galloping on a horse,
the fire rises.
They all just, lay down in the tide.
In the tide.
Just, slowly wash over
You know what
them.
we don't? It's called the Wash. They drowned him. So, that's one theory. Another theory is that all these crown jewels were just lost in this marsh somewhere, and people have constantly tried to look for it. But if the treasure is really buried somewhere near modern-day Sutton Bridge, by now it would be covered by 20 feet or more of silt. So we can all put our metal detectors away, but that hasn't stopped people from looking. All the way through the 1930s, a group of American treasure hunters paid local farmers acre by acre for their help in looking for jewels at Walpole Island. Most recently, a team from Nottingham University took soil samples to try to discover where the causeway of the wagon might have been.
Oh,
the search goes on, but they never found anything. So, there's one last theory. Speaking of, maybe just a wealthy person just kind of came along and found it and became, some baron somewhere. In the 14th century, it was commonly rumored that this guy named Robert, Lord Tiptoft.
Sorry?
Robert Lord Tiptoft.
Lord Tiptoft.
Had salvaged the treasure and then set himself up as a wealthy man in the North Country on the proceeds. According to the East Anglican folklorist W.A. Dutt, local legend in the Sutton area talks of King John's Hole, a pool where the jewels were hidden either by John himself for some nefarious purpose or by those who recovered them after the disaster of the Wash. The pool is said to be on the southern side of King's Lynn to Long Sutton Road. But it's possible that this booty hidden in the hole had been discovered by the third Lord Tiptoft, who suddenly became immensely wealthy. And
suddenly had a bunch of money.
And there's apparently no apparent source for his sudden affluence, and rumors spread that Tiptoft had discovered King John's treasure.
Right, and you wouldn't say, because at that point there'd be some ruling body that says that's our jewels, right? Like it'd either be...
Yeah, I mean, he may have melted them down for their gold and jewels, but at that age, literally there weren't really reliable banks, so a lot of wealthy people would just take these jewels and put them in like a safe and say, I got these jewels.
They should show that in any movie where there's like a treasure with a bunch of gold or jewels, especially in the modern day stories, of like the long, laborious process of them just taking it to jewelers and having them evaluate and like, okay, so I guess...
quite a heist.
All right, so we can sell this ruby at like, $100 an ounce. It's very valuable.
The really boring part of trade.
I just seen like for a year them slowly like selling it off to try to get the best bang for their buck.
Yeah. So apparently those have never been officially recovered, and they were worth about $70 million. Just lost in some marsh.
The way you need to... all treasures need to have some sort of discernible mark, right? Like, you need all of your gold coins to have a special stamp. Kind of helping things... Obviously, you can smelt stuff down, but, like, rubies are hard to do that, too, right?
Yeah.
They're always still going to be in someone's ring or crown. Or
they're just jewels.
Just jewels. Again... worthless. This is all worthless.
It's all
just
worthless.
Shiny rocks.
They're blood gems.
In Assassin's Creed, I get it. That is a cool alien artifact that lets you dodge bullets. Everything else, most of these treasures, there's not like the Holy Grail you get, right? The Holy Grail is presumably God then loves you and you get to be immortal or whatever. Most of these treasures, again, men dying over shiny rocks.
Yep. And that are intrinsically worthless.
Or you think you could find essentially cash, like an old stash of cash. At some point, someone will have like a legend of the great 1980s Coke treasure stash of
100 years
$20 million was put away in a safe, and we haven't been able to find it in one of these buildings. But at that point in time, like the dollar bill won't be accepted anymore.
Can you imagine that?
Just be worthless
in the year 2500 AD, when money itself no longer works and it's only like
credits,
drugs.
Or it'll be like In Time. Somehow that terrible sci-fi movie In Time is
like
the actual future.
So there's just this story of in 1981, a man buried 1,000 tons of cocaine.
Yeah, and then I'm like, okay, I guess we
gotta find that cocaine.
We can just make synthetic cocaine now. It's better.
It's hidden somewhere in Colombia.
Yeah. Like, all right, we got it. We don't need it.
Well, speaking of ancient treasure, though, this is probably the oldest treasure that I found that wasn't purely mythological.
Okay.
This is called the Treasure of the Copper Scrolls.
That is definitely a story from Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Absolutely. Olmec. Imagine this is in Olmec's voice.
You walk down the front steps and past the temple guards. Yeah.
No, those are putties.
No, those putties.
Located to the west of the northern tip of the Dead Sea, and near the town of Kalia, is the Qumran archaeological site, a desert plateau carved by ravines in the caves where the famous Dead Sea Scrolls were initially discovered by Bedouin in 1946. However, in the same valley near where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, a later excavation of 11 caves by archaeologists sponsored by the Jordanian Department of Antiquities uncovered 972 parchment and papyrus texts, and 2 of these were unusual scrolls made of copper. These would turn out to be one scroll that had been divided into 2 pieces. So it was one magic scroll.
So is it an actual scroll or is it just like a tablet?
It was a copper tablet that was paper thin. The rare find was discovered on the 14th of 1952 in the back of Cave 3, somewhat separate from the other finds.
My favorite cave.
The scroll was badly oxidized and fragile to touch, but it was obvious that it was different from the other leather and paper scrolls because it has a detailed list of 64 locations where significant amounts of gold and silver had been hidden.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was written as if anyone reading it would have been familiar with the places mentioned, and it's believed to have been created between 110 and 30 BC. What was found was believed by many to be the secret treasure caches of the fabled Temple of Solomon. So close.
Whoa!
It was King Solomon's diamond mines. You remember those?
Bible treasure.
It was Bible treasure map.
That's pretty cool.
Although many historians believe that some of the treasure may have been found by Roman legions during their occupation of the Middle East, it's reasonable to think that at least some of these locations were never revealed.
So where are those locations? Why are we not going there?
Well, the problem is a lot of the waypoints that they mention casually, they don't. Like, nobody calls them anymore.
They're like points of reference.
Just like go by Eagles Rock.
Oh, okay.
It's like what?
Those are the best treasure maps, though. We had to like hold up this weird parchment to 3 holes and see if it lines up with a mountain ridge.
So here's an example of some of the stuff that was written on this copper tablet.
Okay.
Just to show you how cryptic, but also tantalizing it is. Mm-hmm. Item 3. In the funeral shrine, in the 3rd row of stones, 100 gold ingots. Item 5. In the ascent of the staircase of refuge, to the left-hand side, 3 cubits up from the floor are 40 talents of silver. Item 32. In the cave that is next to unknown. They didn't know what it was. And belonging to the house of Hakaz, dig 6 cubits. Within are 6 ingots of gold.
What? Why they're just spreading out everywhere. Why are we not doing this with our own money?
I don't know. But the total worth of the treasure is thought to be in the vicinity of $1.2 billion.
That's really cool.
And Jesus Christ may have used it to build a flying machine.
To pay off all the guards and make it seem like he came back from the dead. So what are we learning here as far as for future treasures? There will be some version of this in the future. Who knows what is valuable, right? If we were going to make a treasure, what should we... All right, put it in something that is completely... like a fireproof safe, right?
I think it would have to be in some sort of airtight, temperature-controlled stone something.
You essentially need to put it in, like, the foundation of a famous building.
Yeah.
Right? That's the only, like... Because the main problem is you need to keep it safe. You need to keep it stored where, like, the elements are in no way getting elements. But also, the main problem with most of these treasures is the point of reference is always lost.
Right.
Right? Either the codex or even just the, like, reference point is... You can't find it. Even to the people you might want to pass it on to, it's been washed away. So you need it to be, like, something that'll be around for presumably ever, or you can always find those points. So it needs to be, like, the Empire State Building or, like, Oprah's house. That kind of thing.
Something that will last.
Like something that'll always be tracked, so you can always like use GPS coordinates to find that spot, right?
Oprah's house.
Oprah's house will stay forever. House. Oh yeah, when Oprah's dead, that's going to be like the new Graceland, right?
You're assuming Oprah will die.
That's true.
She may be an immortal.
She's going to figure it out. She's just been slowly draining Stefan or whatever his name is, life essence, just like from him.
Stefan.
What's his name?
Oh,
Stedman.
Stedman.
That's why we've never seen Stedman for 20 years.
He's just a hustler.
Her husband, yeah. She comes in every night, and just like slowly touches his head, just drains another like week of energy from him. By the time everyone forgets about you, I'll find another. Like that kind of just like
I shall find another.
Yeah, just draining him. So you need that,
and you need clues,
and you also need the treasure to be and turn into something that will be valuable forever because the world changes. So gold coins, I guess we can still say like gold and silver, that sort of thing. It shouldn't even be like just a pretty stone. It needs to be like what is the most? You almost need it to be like secrets or like.
I think it would have to be something that will last forever, like human worth. Like a poem about how to find happiness.
Yeah, that's what it is. That sounds weird, but it's a picture of a puppy climbing out of a barrel, and that's always going to be valuable.
And in the future, after puppies are extinct, and all documentation of them existing has been erased from the planet, that would be the most valuable thing in the world. This is
joking, but I really start to think that really, in some ways, treasure that might be more valuable is like just art.
Could be.
Like rare paintings, presumably, will be until society collapses.
I mean, at this point, that's like stuff that has a historical significance becomes way more valuable than what it originally was.
Like Dr. Dre's album that hasn't come out yet, or like
right, or like Superman's Action Comics #1, 50 cents when it came out.
Yeah, one of those, yeah.
But now it's worth like $3 million because people value
Somehow that seems a better treasure to hide than, say, like 20 giant gold bars. Like the original HD laser discs of the original Star Wars trilogy without him changing stuff.
Those are already getting valuable.
That George Lucas said he destroyed when he made the new remastered trilogy. That would be a huge treasure. That would be super valuable.
And the irony is, because he borrowed so heavily from like Man of a Thousand Faces and the Monomyth, that will become our like legendary myth.
Let's go find it.
That'll be like our Beowulf 1,000
Let's go
years
find
from now,
it.
is fucking Star Wars.
That's amazing.
Well, I think that about wraps it up for Hidden Treasures.
If you guys have any ones that we missed or any really, really great ones, please let us know. You can always send in cool suggestions to us. We do have the Gmail we've already mentioned, Paranoia Shoppe, SHOPPE, @gmail.com. We're on Twitter.
Tweet us.
Yeah, at Paranoia Shoppe.
Or tweet us directly at Good Aaron.
Or at Quantum Theory, QUANDTUM Theory.
Also, check out our websites, paranoiashoppe.com.
Or and you can check out the other podcasts in our little friend network of Explosive Magico. Go to explosivemagico.com. I think we're on one of the new episodes that's coming out.
Yeah, it's a premium episode, I think. There's a little tiny shop if you wanted to check explosomagico.com.
And again, thank you for everyone else who reaches out to us. It's been great. I'm sorry to leave you guys hanging for a little bit while we reinvent our lives, become more adults.
Yes.
But all of your feedback has been super great.
Yes, we love it. We're glad you guys are enjoying the stuff. And yeah, we're not going to stop anytime soon. We're just going to keep making stuff when we can. So enjoy.
Aaron, do you have anything you want to leave us with?
I do. There is one really, I think, is pretty funny treasure, and that's the lost Fabergé eggs.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Fabergé?
Yeah, they're based from Russia, correct?
Yes, they're just valuable eggs.
Very ornate eggs, like decorated in diamonds, right? Just like it's a bunch of valuable stone, just happen to be around an egg.
Exactly. Well,
not actual eggs, right? It's not like an egg that they built diamonds around. It's just
so Peter Karl Fabergé, also known as Karl Gustavich Fabergé, and his brother Agathon were Russian jewelers,
also known as the weirdest guys in Russia,
that became famous for their extraordinary quality and beauty of their work. And in 1885, Tsar Alexander III of the House of Romanov commissioned the production of the golden enamel hen egg for his wife, the Empress Maria, which she adored. And over the next 33 years, 52 eggs were made for the Russian royal family, as well as a further 15 for private buyers.
Where they're just like sitting on their mantle places, right?
Yeah.
They weren't like doing anything with it. They're just like, that's really nice.
So it's just like these magic little eggs
it's
covered
like
in
getting
gems.
Precious Moments figurines made for you. That's all it was. Just like fancy little diamond eggs.
So everybody loved these eggs. Like, I love these eggs. And then in 19...
You're just sitting around the dinner table. These eggs are the best.
Look at this egg. Hot potato.
Red egg. Oh, blue egg.
But then in 1917, the Russian Revolution toppled Tsar Nicholas II, who was executed along with much of the royal family in 1918. Fearing for his safety, Fabergé abandoned Russia, traveling to Latvia, where he finally died in 1920. But the eggs and many other treasures of the royal family were confiscated, and some disappeared. Some were sold to raise funds for the new regime, but over time, 8 of the original 52 eggs have vanished, and their whereabouts remain a mystery to this very egg. This very day.
Keep that. That's good.
Just one egg, the Rothschild egg, was sold at Christie's auction house for $8.9 million.
It's just a dumb.
So here's a list to close us out.
Egg.
I'm going to read off the name of these missing eggs.
Oh, they all have like names.
They all have
to them.
magic names. So here's the egg names. 1886, the hen egg with sapphire pendant. 1888, the cherub with chariot egg. 1889, the nécessaire egg. 1896, the egg with Alexander III's portraits. 1897, the mauve egg.
Just like a brownish red
brown egg. In 1902, the Empire Nefertiti egg.
Okay.
1903, the Royal Danish Jubilee egg.
Oh.
And 1909, the Alexander III commemorative egg, just like the Chinaware.
Like commemorative plates you get to memorize like 20 years of Alf on TV.
So these magic eggs worth about $150 million.
Each. Or in total.
Total.
Those are the only ones we can't find.
Yep.
Those are the only ones we found.
So there you go, Paranoia shoppers. Go find those magic eggs and be wealthy.
Good, or just keep them on your mantel place and tell no one about it. And as you just drink your coffee in the morning, you look and go, definitely worth it.
A magic egg a day keeps a man healthy, wealthy, and fabulously wealthy.
And they're probably magic. All right, thanks for listening.
Hatch your wealth.
Okay, bye.
This has been an Explosomagico podcast production. For more information, please visit explosomagico.com.